Hey, today I want to talk about starting where you are. This topic is very relevant to me personally because I feel like I really struggle with this. And this gives me a new perspective that I hope will help me and in turn may help you. This phrase has come to me recently and just keeps echoing in my mind over and over again. Start where you are. So I wanted to explore a little bit about what that means. It might sound obvious when you just hear it or think about it. Start where you are. It's kind of like, well, duh, like where else would you start? But I think it's really important to remind ourselves that we do have to start where we are. I think a lot of times we think about the past and we fixate on what we wish we would have done, what we could have done. We wish that we would have started something 6 months ago or 6 years ago. So we kind of go into despair about our past not living up to what we expected ourselves to do. And likewise, we focus on the future and we wish we were already there. We want to be so much farther ahead than we are. And I think that can leave us feeling frustrated about our present and also a little demoralized because we see how far we still have to go. And so we get discouraged because of the distance we perceive between where we are now and where we want to be. So we can despair about the past looking back. We can be frustrated and discouraged looking forward because we see how much farther we have to go. And I myself am very guilty of this. I find myself being dissatisfied with where I am and also feeling a little bit paralyzed in starting because I feel overwhelmed by how much farther ahead I wish I were. And that's looking back and looking forward. I get stuck and I get really down on myself. And then it makes it really, really hard to actually start where you are, to make progress, to take any action toward your goal. I think that making this video in itself has really shown me how much I fall into these tendencies and how hard it is to overcome. So just to use this video as an example, I started recording this a few days ago. I literally recorded a version of it and just wasn't happy with it because I wish that I were so much better at, this whole video thing. And I also look back and see how long it's been since I've last published a video. So then I feel really bad about myself and about my lack of progress and consistency. And then, I look ahead and imagine where I want to be. And I wish that I had hundreds of videos and that I was just really adept at filming and speaking on camera and all of that. But, when we look at the truth that the only place we can start is right here where we are, it feels like we have to face the truth that we haven't lived up to our potential. We haven't measured up to the vision that we imagine for ourselves. And it's really tough to face that. And I think another thing that gets in my way is perfectionism and specifically wanting to make sure I have enough information and knowledge that I can actually execute something the right way, even though there is no right way, of course, but I convince myself that I just need to learn a little bit more before I can start. So I'm always delaying and pushing back beginning because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be imperfect. It's going to be messy and I'm going to have, there's a learning curve. So I'm going to have to fail and make mistakes and struggle to get better. So it's going to be a challenge. The funny thing is that's literally what living boldly is all about. It's about starting where you are so that you can change, grow, evolve, improve. How can you just wake up one day and just be everything you want to be and have done everything you want to have done and accomplished? That's impossible. All we have is right now. All we have is this day and this time, and we have to start the only place possible, which is where we are. So like I was saying, for filming this video, I came up with so many reasons to delay and procrastinate, and so many excuses and seemingly urgent things kept popping up. And it would be so easy to justify just deferring it and putting it off a little bit more, a little bit longer. I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll feel better then, or the lighting will be better, or my hair will be better, or my skin will be better. Maybe, I need to just research a little bit more and get a little bit more clarity and ideas about what I want to say. Maybe I need to practice and film this a few times before I actually, am satisfied with it. I need to, perfect it and get all the kinks out of it. So basically, there will always be a reason to put something off, to start later. And the funniest thing is that we can just do that forever and then never start anything that matters to us, because we don't want to face the discomfort and we don't want to break the illusion of potential perfection. Because once we start something new, something that we haven't put effort into, we are going to feel disappointed in ourselves. We are going to have to feel all these uncomfortable feelings of being a beginner, being bad at something, self-doubt, like doubting ourselves. Like I said, like looking at our failures up until now, our failure to start until now, how much time we've wasted, how we could have been so much farther ahead if we had just started then instead of now. And I'm here to tell you that the only cure, the only solution is to start where you are. So I have developed a few little tricks that help me when it comes to writing, because I've been a writer for pretty much my whole life since I could write. And that, is another example of facing that same exact challenge when you're staring at a blank page and you might have a perfectly formed idea of what you want to say, and in your mind you can just imagine like how powerful and eloquent you could be and how well you can articulate the thoughts in your head. But then as soon as you actually start and you write something, you are going to be disappointed and you're going to feel that disappointment, and it doesn't feel very good. So I'm going to use writing as a metaphor and an example of starting where you are. So one of the lessons I learned that helps you get over this fear of imperfection is from the author Anne Lamott, who wrote a book called Bird by Bird about writing and life. And she instructs her students and teaches them that you have to write shitty first drafts. That's the only option you have. First drafts equals shitty first drafts. So it kind of takes away a little bit of that perfectionism and like the idealized version of what we want to create or produce, because we give ourselves permission to just let it be shitty. Let it be the worst piece of writing that you've ever produced, that you've ever seen in your life. And that actually frees you to just do something and take one step. And once you do that, then that is the beginning of whatever piece you're writing, whatever work you want to do. You have to start out with a shitty first draft. And then you can improve your craft. You can edit and revise the piece until it actually isn't so shitty, but you can't skip the shittiness. You have to start out there. You have to start where you are. You have to start with a shitty first draft. So I say, why not just embrace it? One little inspiring poem that I wrote myself to remind myself of this truth is called Advice for Beginning. Dive in and mess up early. Break the illusion of potential perfection. Kill the mythical pristine. So that, in a nutshell, is my advice for beginning, that I need to remind myself and teach myself this and relearn it all the time. So I figured I would share that with you. And I think the way you can put this into practice is not only to give yourself permission to be bad at first, to write a shitty first draft, but to actually pursue it enthusiastically, actively go in and mess up early so that you do kill the mythical pristine and break the illusion of potential perfection. Because once you do that, once you just dive in and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this really badly and just do it and let it just be horrible, let myself feel disappointed in it, like embrace that feeling of the suck. So that's another thing that my husband and I always talk about, is embrace the suck. And we even have on our inspiration wall behind me a thing that says welcome to the suck, because when we sit down to create anything, we are just there to just be with the suck and let it suck. So like I said, I am definitely not perfect at this, which is kind of the whole lesson of this, is that we are not perfect. I'm not perfect. And the best way to move from where you are, where you're not happy with yourself and your life and your progress, and to get closer to where you want to be, to do work that matters to you, to take risks and try to become the person you want to be. The best and pretty much the only way to do that is, you already know, start where you are. As my hero, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said, we are always preparing to live and never living. I don't know about you, but that quote really hits home, because I do feel like all these delays and excuses are me just convincing myself that I'm preparing to live, I'm preparing to work, I'm preparing to, start on my projects or start taking action toward my goals and dreams. But that's not actually living. That's not moving you closer to where you want to go. So how about we both ponder this and decide to stop preparing to live and begin to live, starting right here, where we are right now.